Good morning, subscribers. Those of you who are regular followers to my channel, you will know that I have recently created a new playlist which is all to do with money saving and just simple financial matters which you will all encounter as you move from college to university to work to retirement. And today, ladies and gentlemen, is that whole notion of retirement, which may seem a long way away for you, but it's this notion of retirement and pensions which I wish to focus upon, particularly with regard to the reforms which are currently in transition at the moment with regard to the state pension system. And hence I want to look at whether or not this is going to be a simpler state pension. Maybe in the long term it will, but certainly in this transition phase it most definitely will not. So if you're interested, ladies and gentlemen, and this affects you, then do stay tuned for what is coming in the next few moments. So, under the old state pension system, you were entitled to a basic state pension plus, and in addition to that, some type of earnings-related top-up. Now, under the new system, there is going to be a standard rate which is capped at a maximum, ladies and gentlemen, of £159, £159.55 per week. Now, in the old system, to qualify for your basic state pension, you needed to have 30 years of qualifying national insurance contributions, and that then entitled you to the full state basic pension of £115.95 per week. But of course, you were then entitled to some type of earnings-related top-up. And this was known as either the second state pension, or more commonly probably as SERPs, the State Earnings-Related Pension Scheme. And the amount of this additional payment which you received was determined obviously by the amount that you paid into SERPs. Now for some people that meant that they received as much as, from the state, from these two combined, the basic state pension and their second pension if you will, received as much as £200 per week. However, this new system will not entitle anybody, certainly once this transition phase is over, it will not entitle anybody to receive as much as £200 per week. So let me just move the camera across, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll show you what the implications are of this new system. Okay, ladies and gents, so as I mentioned at the beginning, this new system applies to people who are turning, if you're a man, then if you're turning 65 years old this year, this was applicable to you, and 63, 64-year-old women in 2017. It depends upon your date of birth as to whether or not you'd be eligible for the new system or whether you would still be on the old system. But how does this compare to the old system? Well, the basic state pension now, so the old system, we were talking about a maximum payout there of £115.95 a week. The new system, we're now up to a payment of £122.30 per week. So we've got a small increase there. And you're entitled to some type of SERPs top-up. Now that's no different from the old system. However, the maximum will be capped at £159.55 per week. So whereas on the old system, some people, as I've said, were in receipt of payments almost up to a level of £200 per week, this is going to be capped at £159.55, regardless of what your contributions are across your lifetime. And on the old system, you only needed to have made 30 years of national insurance contributions. On the new system, this is now up to 35 years of full national insurance and state earnings-related pensions contributions. Now, ultimately, the long-term aim of this is to have a flat rate maximum payout for all. And that flat rate maximum will be up to a maximum of £159.55 per week. And the long-term aim will be that state earnings related pension scheme, the SERPs aspect of this, will eventually be phased out. Now, not to want to set any alarm bells ringing to some people who are in this sort of retirement bracket age. If you are entitled under the old system to more than 159.55, well, in this transition phase you will still receive more than that. So this maximum cap level, we're talking beyond this transition phase. Now, let's just consider who this will actually apply to. This whole notion of, particularly the whole notion of receiving less than 159.55. People who are in receipt of what's known as a defined benefit pension scheme, so that would be people such as myself, who has a teacher's pension, and other people who decide, right, we're not going to put our monies into SERPs, we're going to contract out of SERPs, and we're going to invest that money into some other pot of money, some other private pension pot. Well, they will be, unfortunately, rather detrimentally impacted by this change. Now, how many people does that apply to? Well, in the UK, there are about 12 million people who are part of a defined benefit pension scheme. Now, 5.5 million of those people are in the public sector, the rest being in the private sector. And those people in the public sector, their pensions are automatically contracted, their contributions are automatically contracted out of SERPs. And about 85% of the private sector private pension schemes, they're also contracted out of SERPs. Now, as a consequence, of course, that money is either, well, you could choose, I suppose, to take it as part of your income and spend it, or it's diverted into a separate occupational or a private pension scheme. So the money that's being diverted out of SERPs, it may well be going into some other pot, which will obviously give you a top-up, but not coming directly from the state. So that's obviously worth noting as well. If you have contracted out, and really the people who will be impacted by this and not receive anywhere near this 159.55 per week for the rest of their retirement non-working lives, it will be obviously these people who have contracted out of SERPs and are paying money in elsewhere. But if you wanted to know how much you would be entitled to had you not contracted out, because it might be worth buying some additional years, and we'll talk about how you might do that in a moment. But there is a method, an online method via the Department of Work and Pensions, the DWP, where you can find out your contracted out pensions equivalent. It's called the cope payment. And the cope payment would illustrate to you what your maximum entitlement would be had you not contracted out of SERP. So there's a little method around that, and therefore you may then decide, oh well, actually it might be worth me buying some additional years of state pension. Now you can do that in a couple of ways. So you can top up for up to 6 missing years in your pension by making what are known as voluntary Class 3 national insurance contributions. Now if you do that, I think it costs around about, so if you missed a year, it costs around about £750, something like that. But that will add maybe 4, 5, 6, maybe even £7 to your overall entitlement for your pension payment, which obviously, if you're going to live for a long time after you retire, which obviously none of us know, but if you're going to live for a long time, then that would be worth having for a one-off payment of maybe £700. And as I say, you can do that for up to a maximum of 6 missing years. So that certainly is, gentlemen, pensions. Not something that we often think about when we're young, but really something that we should be planning for, particularly as this whole notion of a flat rate state system, that's going to be the norm in a few years' time. And so you really do need to be thinking about what are you going to do with your other savings, how are you going to invest that in order to provide for your long-term security when you retire. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is it from me for today. Bye for now.